Hello, hello. Welcome to the Gentle Power podcast. We were laughing because we are not fully behind the hello, hello thing, but it's been over a year.
We've done it for 100% of past episodes, and then we're still like, should we start our episodes that way? But
Yes.
yes, that's still a work in progress. We'll see if that changes over time. Well, we are super excited to welcome Daniel Imberman to the Gentle Power podcast.
I know Daniel through one of the cults I'm part of, which is called Sandbox. I'm part of many cults.
It's a global cult.
It's a global
this is a big
cult.
one. Yeah.
It has many chapters. And Daniel, you're in Mexico City right now?
I am. I've lived all over, but since September I've lived in Mexico City. It's the best place I've ever lived.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to the
Nice.
podcast. Is there a Sandbox chapter there? Do you hang out?
Bienvenido. Okay, sorry, I just need
Bienvenido.
Yeah, there's a Sandbox chapter down here. It's actually one of the more active ones. It's amazing people, and a lot of the organizers of the summit are actually from the Mexico City chapter.
Right, Nico and them. Can you share briefly what Sandbox is? I always struggle, even though I was one of the San Francisco ambassadors for a couple years. It's so hard to describe for me.
Yeah.
But I think some people like you are very
All we've
eloquent.
told people about it is that it's a cult.
cult.
So if you could
Global
expand
cult.
upon that.
Yeah. I like to say that Sandbox is an international collective of creative weirdos.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh, yeah.
International Collective of Creative Weirdos. Okay, I guess we are the part of, you're not part of Sandbox. Alex is too straight-laced to be part of Sandbox.
Yes,
He's
too
very
normie.
creative, not weird at all.
So, yeah, it's just like it's a really great group where pretty much any major city across the planet, you can just put out feelers on WhatsApp and suddenly you have like a group of friends to go hang out with. And
Yes.
everyone's like in like either nonprofit or tech or arts or just any number of things. So it's not like only highly financially successful people or only highly artsy people. It's just people who are self-motivated to do things regardless of what that thing they do actually is.
Yeah. And the reason we started with this is because we want to experiment with this episode to be a little bit more relaxed and more informal.
Just want to shoot the shit.
Okay, apparently we can curse now. On our
I guess so. As soon as I was saying that, I'm like, wait, then does that mean I need to toggle on the explicit content? Like, anyway, we'll figure out all those logistics
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
But yeah, so the reason we were talking about Sandbox is also because Sandbox every year it has a global summit, and this year it's in Poland. And I go to Europe every summer. We go to Europe every summer to visit my family, also because it's so beautiful there in Albania in the summer. But I don't know. I had an amazing time last year at the Sandbox retreat in Spain. It was magical. But this year I'm dragging my feet. It's a little early in the year for me to go to Europe. It's the retreat dates are first week of June. And I usually go July or August. And so it feels like, the summer is starting early. But yeah, I think you were going to pitch me on why to go. So go.
Yeah, I mean, so what I can say is the last Sandbox retreat I went to in December, it actually changed my life in a pretty significant way.
Wow.
And it led to some pretty significant changes in my career and in my kind of just general viewpoints. And so, it's to the point where I actually have helped out a couple of friends in like coming to the summit because I saw it as so important to get those reconnections and really just kind of have this beautiful melding of minds.
Oh, that's so special.
Wow. How did it change your life?
Yeah.
So I was actually in an interesting place where I left my job last July to start kind of a startup journey. And I tried a few startups and I wasn't enjoying it. And I was really just trying to figure out what that next step in my life would be. And it was through going to the New Year's retreat that I really realized like, hey, there's this whole route of consulting and owning a business that's profitable from day one versus this startup crapshoot where you're trying for $1 billion or $0. And I got to meet so many incredible people, so many incredible, like really mature established people who were able to just kind of give me this incredible advice that started me on my own journey to starting my own business and really building something that I love today.
Wow. So that started in at the December retreat? That's
It
so
did.
cool. It's funny because we had a similar journey, which was we also I was a VC back founder. Alex was trying out different startup ideas and even got an interview with Y Combinator and everything. But as we finally decided to work together, someone told us, hey, you don't have to do VC back. You can just do like online education, consulting, coaching type of thing. And yeah, it's been incredible. So we're here for a similar reason. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's funny. It's just like one of my spicier takes these days is like I wish more people started profitable businesses before they went the VC route. Because I think
Mm,
that if your first business you start is raising $4 million and suddenly having all this runway, it kind of warps your brain on what is needed to run a successful business.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because you're not operating with
So
constraints,
true.
and constraints
Yeah.
is where I feel like the creativity can actually come through. Like,
Creativity.
how do I problem solve this, right?
Yeah, and being profitable. But as you were saying, you quit your job. I just remembered what job you quit,
What job did you
what
quit?
company you quit, and it's such a fun fact.
I think that I'll be careful what I say.
Okay, you don't
Yeah.
have to say anything, but we have to say the name. Like we can talk, we can do all the talking.
Okay, but I'll
Okay,
say
sounds good.
like, yeah. So I actually worked at Astronomer. It's the company behind Apache
Oh,
Airflow.
yeah, yeah.
I was actually employee number 10 there, and I was pretty critical in like a lot of the early scale up from like 10 employees all the way up to 300 employees. So I got to watch a lot of what it means for a company to get built up from just 10 people to something really, really large. And a lot of my taking my own journey was realizing, hey, why can't I do that for myself?
Mm,
Why am I
Mm,
making other people highly successful instead of just taking that little extra risk on my own side to get the outcome for myself?
mm. And so, did you leave before or after the Coldplay kiss cam moment?
I I left 3 days before.
3 days before.
wow.
Okay.
3 days
Wow.
before. Yeah.
Did you
Wow.
see it coming?
I
That's
s-
you don't have
I
to
saw
answer
nothing. Yeah.
that. So
So
wait,
wait,
hold on, hold
for
on.
people who are listening,
You,
maybe they didn't realize what we are
yeah,
talking
so
about.
Astronomer is the company that was all over the news because there was that viral moment where the CEO and one of the top execs, they were caught on a kiss cam at a Coldplay concert, and then they like as soon as they saw, they freaked out, they hid, and it just became a huge viral moment
Yeah.
where I mean their lives probably blew up
Yeah.
or they became very famous in a not very desirable way.
Yes.
But I will say it definitely put Astronomer on the map. Like I had never heard
Yeah,
about this
yeah.
company. Most people hadn't heard about it. Not to say that you guys weren't doing great work, but
It's definitely wild seeing Gwyneth Paltrow talk about your open source data products.
you're like, I
That
was
is
not expecting this plot line.
that is so funny. Yes.
Well,
But I think they were interviewed recently, the woman that was on.
she's
Yeah.
done a few interviews. I
Yeah.
think there was a New York Times thing and things
Yeah.
like that. But we don't have to dive too
We don't
much
have
into
to dive, but I
that.
think that was such a fun
That is
fact.
that is
Yeah.
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
No?
Well, this is a little bit of a side quest, but so I understand for Sandbox, you need to apply. And part of
Hmm.
that application is you need to submit something called a WOW project, right?
Yes.
And so a WOW project is something that will wow the existing cult or or the community. I'm just curious what your WOW project was when you
If you
applied.
can share.
Yeah, of course. So when I was growing up, one of my favorite poems was called Instructions. And it was a list of instructions of what to do should you find yourself trapped in a fairy tale.
Oh,
And
that's
Whoa.
so beautiful.
Wow.
and that was one of my favorite poems growing up. And so for my sister's wedding, I actually wrote a poem called How to Give a Speech at Your Only Sister's Wedding. And it was kind of like a
Oh.
meta meditation of what it's like to stand up in front of everyone you love and, really experience a true once in a lifetime moment. So I ended up doing a reading of that poem and taking all kinds of clips from my childhood and basically like writing a love letter to my family.
Wow,
Wow.
that's beautiful. I just got the chills.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Was not expecting this turn on our podcast.
Yeah. We try to hit all the range of emotions in a single episode. So,
Had to cry in 5 minutes.
but okay, so you let. Oh yeah.
And the
Sorry.
WoW project
Was the
I,
video
I
right?
made a video of
of
reading the
the
poem with like
yeah.
clips and music, and yeah.
Wow.
Man.
I feel like if I'm trapped in a fairy tale, hopefully it's a good one, I would not want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes living in SF, I know this is controversial. I do feel like I'm in a fairy tale.
We are.
But
Goethe is like the biggest brand ambassador of San Francisco. She's like the mayor of
I
SF.
think having no winter, coming from Boston and then having zero winter is just wild to me. Awesome. So, how about you take us through your life journey, your background, and how does power or negotiation come into it, if at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I basically got my master's in machine learning back in 2015. I was actually working on like kind of precursors to what are now LLMs. So it's kind of wild seeing these take over the world. I then worked at Bloomberg for a couple of years where I got really involved on the open source projects that Bloomberg was supporting, which led to me supporting this project called Apache Airflow. And I had a near-death experience living in San Francisco. Yeah, I was
What
running
happened?
late. I was running late for a date and I lived on top of a hill. I lived in
Not a
Alamo
good start.
Square,
She cursed you.
and and I that was back when all those stupid scooters were on the streets.
Mm.
And so I grabbed one of those. I went downhill, and the brakes didn't work. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I tucked, rolled, broke my wrist, almost got run over, and all I could think was, San Francisco techie dies on scooter running late for Tinder date.
Oh
Dude,
my God.
that is like, yeah, that is such, that's like an Onion
You,
headline.
you came
Like,
up with
I was like, people on Reddit are going to be laughing at me.
oh
So
man.
I was like, I need to leave San Francisco before I die a meme. And so
uh,
then Astronomer hits me up and like says, hey, the CEO says, hey, do you want to work on Airflow for a living? And I said, can I do it from Bali? And the CEO's response was, F yeah, you could do it from Bali. And 3 weeks
Oh,
later, all my stuff was in storage, like cut my lease, flight to Thailand, and I started being a nomad and like working on open source for a living.
wait, did you start
Um,
this while it was COVID or before or
no,
during
this is
COVID?
pre-COVID.
oh,
Pre-COVID, because I feel
pre-COVID.
like pre-COVID, that's pretty rare that
Oh,
you
to
don't
work
really
from
see that.
Bali? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot rarer back then. Like this was definitely before the big boom of remote happened. So it was
Mhm.
definitely cool to kind of be in a little bit of a wild west.
Yeah.
Especially I ended up living in Colombia for a while, which was so many incredible like pueblos and
Wow.
but yeah, so then like I wrote Astronomer up and I was there for like 6 to 7 years. And then finally I kind of like hit this point of like, you know, is this what I want to do with all of my 30s? Like, do I want to just be an employee? Do I want to, be taking the safe path? And I realized, like, this is the time of my life where I can take real risks.
Mm.
Hmm.
So I quit. I started a startup, and I learned the hard way that when you do risky things, most risky things fail. So my startup failed.
Mhm.
And so I went all in on, all right, how can I build a consulting firm where the business is me, the product is me. And to the whole point of power and negotiations, it's so fascinating going from negotiating as an employee to negotiating as a consultant. It is such a different beast in its entirety. When you're an employee, you negotiate like once every year or two to try to like beg for a 10K raise instead of a 5K raise.
Yeah.
Or like when you're changing jobs, you have that one critical conversation that can like just decide your salary for the next 2 years. I negotiate every week now. It is wild the crash course in negotiation I've had to take in the last 6 months. And
Mm.
I've had to learn sales, I've had to learn marketing, I've had to learn everything that engineers don't have to learn from scratch. And like I'm so grateful for this journey and how much it's taught me.
Wow, I mean, where do we start?
Well,
So,
I I couldn't help but think you're like, I need to leave before I die a meme, but then you joined Astronomer.
Like a
You
global
joined-
meme.
Even we did a video, actually, if you remember.
Oh yeah, at your
On my
birthday.
birthday,
Yeah.
yeah.
We like reenacted the astronomer
Yeah.
things at the moment.
But I love that you were already entrepreneurial in when you went to Bali before COVID, when so few people were doing it. That was already maybe a hint at your own entrepreneurial journey that was to come. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like, so it's funny. I've always been entrepreneurial. Like, I
Yeah.
started a startup in grad school,
Oh,
and even within Astronomer, I was kind of always having a bit of like a strategy role, where at one point I was a strategy engineer helping the CEO with like strategic product decisions. Like, it's always kind of been that one of my big selling points has been being highly technical, but also able to speak business with business people. And
Mm,
so the consulting is just an extension of that.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you say you find yourself in negotiations every single week working on this consulting firm. What kinds of negotiations are these?
So when it comes to consulting, it's really fascinating where you're basically in a constant state of sales. Even if you have a great full-time client, you
Hmm.
have to keep the pipeline running because if you don't have anyone in the pipeline and then the engagement ends, everyone's happy, it's going to take you like a month and a half to like really get everything revved up again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even if you're working full time, you still have to devote 10 to 15 hours a week to meeting new prospects and like setting the groundwork. And I like to joke that I'm a gardener, not a hunter. So it's
Mm.
not like, hey, nice to meet you. Can like this is how much it'll cost. It's like, hey, nice to meet you. Let's establish a relationship. Let me understand your pain points. Let's talk in a couple months when you really need me.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's like you're nurturing the leads, you're nurturing the plants in your
Oh,
garden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
interesting.
Exactly.
That's funny
And
because we've seen the same thing. Sometimes we have clients who become clients years after we first talked to them.
yeah, that's
So
exactly what I've experienced. People who disappear in January come back in May.
Yeah.
yeah. So when you're doing this nurturing, are you checking in with them, or does every conversation to you feel like a negotiation because you're continuing to share maybe your value prop, and then you share how you can help them, or do you guys ever talk about price? Like, what is that? What does convos look like?
Yeah, it's actually kind of the opposite. It's less about my value prop and more about understanding their pain.
Mm,
I think that it's one thing I had to learn the hard way is I used to start by focusing on how can I help you?
Right.
What do I bring to the table?
Mm.
And like it's actually kind of the opposite. I've had people come to me with one problem and then in talking to them, I'll ask like, "Hey, is this really what's keeping you up at night?" And over the course of an hour, we'll end up with a completely different problem from what we started out talking about.
mm,
Like it might be that there's a completely different business outcome that they care about. And
Right.
by the way, that is to me the big difference between a consultant and a contractor is
Mm.
if you're a contractor, you're a butt in a seat. You
mm-hmm.
are there to write code. You're basically an engineer. You're basically like you're an employee who doesn't like a W-2 for some reason. A
Yeah,
consultant
employee
is
without benefits.
an employee without benefits. Like
That sounds different.
Yeah.
as a consultant, my job is like I tie myself to a business outcome.
Mm,
Like I would have people ghost me or tell me I was too expensive. And eventually I realized like it's not that I'm too expensive. It's that they don't understand the value yet because I haven't
mm,
helped them with that. So for
Mm.
example, if we'd met one day, just first time meeting, and I told you, Alex, pay me $50,000 and I will come back with $200,000 in 1 month. You
if you can
probably
guarantee it.
exactly like you don't trust me yet. You don't
Mm,
know me.
yeah.
So it's like how can like my job is to like show that show that I understand your pain and that I understand what a successful outcome to that pain looks like.
Mhm.
And if you believe that I understand your pain and that I'm the person who can solve it, well then I'm not too expensive. It's just a matter of like what ratio of that outcome do you want to pay?
Mm.
Mm. Oh, that's
People
so
will say it's
interesting.
too expensive when what they really mean is I don't trust you.
How did you get to this insight? Like, is there a particular like story or journey?
Yeah, I had an incredible coach through the last like couple months.
Mm.
His name is Dan Gwalter. He found me on LinkedIn. I put a post up that I was going to be a consultant. He commented on one of my posts, something really meaningful, and I booked like a free hour call with him. And in that hour, I was actually testing how well does he sell me? Does he
Mm,
sell me the way I would want to sell?
right.
And it was really incredible how at no point did I feel like I was being pushed or hustled or pushed into a sale. It was very much a how can I help you? How can I lead to your outcomes? And it's really fascinating where one of the biggest things I learned is when you're doing consulting, you have to tie your success to their success.
Yeah.
Like the most fascinating thing this guy Dan did is he didn't say, "Hey, it's this much and you get 10 sessions." He said, "It's this much and you can book as many one-on-ones with me as you want until you are happy and you are ready to go."
Mm.
And to me, that was a fascinating way of tying his success to mine. So I
Mm.
sometimes do AI enablements, and I do something very similar. I'll sit with your company, I'll go through everything you guys are doing, I'll write up a detailed discussion of like how we can teach your engineers AI, and then I'll do the enablements, but then we will have continued access. We'll have continued Slack access, or the engineering leadership can book time with me whenever they need help. And it's like I the engagement ends when you are happy, not when like the timer is up.
I love that because we also have success fees, and actually our initial pricing was fully success fee. It's just that everyone wanted it, so then we're like, okay, we have to have some flat fee. We can't have anyone, and also when people didn't have skin in the game, we're like, okay, we need some flat fee to compensate us for our time and all that, and then people have skin in the game and take this seriously.
I love the tying, if you're a consultant, tying your success to your client's success, because our success fee as well, it's a percentage of the difference between the initial or the offer where it was when we started working with them to whatever the final offer is. So like
Mm,
first of all, our success fee is just coming from what we helped them negotiate, the extra money that they got. It's not necessarily money that they would have
For their
gotten just out of the
pockets, yeah.
pocket. But two, it's just whatever we helped you increase, that's the percentage, right? So like if they get a higher increase, if we help them get a higher increase,
Yeah.
then we're charging from that money that
Our
the
incentives
extra money they got.
are aligned. Yeah. But we were looking at each other because we are working with a coach that is completely against a success fee model, and I'm baffled. Yeah. But in any case, I'm curious to see as we start working with that coach how if it, like I'm sure they have their own good reasoning to not do a success fee. Could you so there are two questions that we ask every guest.
mm,
One is what is a hot take you have on negotiations or power?
mhm.
And the second is if you can walk us through a specific example of a power dynamic or a negotiation, who was involved, what was the outcome, what was the takeaway, and things like that. So you can start with either.
Yeah, I think that my hottest take on negotiation is I think a lot of people have a fundamental misunderstanding what negotiation is
Mm,
because they think of negotiation as you versus the person you're negotiating with.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Like,
exactly.
I want to charge more, you want to pay less. I
Mm,
want a higher salary, you want to like at all these points, if you think you're against the person you're negotiating with, then you've already set yourself up for this wrong mindset that's going to lead to like butting of heads.
Hmm.
yes.
And I think that you get so much more for starting with what do you both want. This is
Mm,
what I when I mentioned coming to pain. Like, if you come to me for a marketing tool, when in reality your biggest pain point is that your sales process is too long.
Mm.
And I quote you on a marketing tool, no matter what I quote you, it's going to be the wrong thing.
Hmm.
So
mm,
if we can both agree on what actually your biggest pain point is and what a successful outcome looks like, then suddenly everything else is so much easier because there's so much less chance of the negotiation falling apart because you have this commonality. You want a shorter sales cycle. I want to build you a tool that shortens your sales cycle. We agree
Mhm.
on what that tool would be. Now we're just kind of talking details.
I love that. That's yeah, absolutely. And we are so careful. One of the, I mean, million things we coach our clients is whenever we look at all their communication, text, emails, all that, and they'll be like, "Can you do this number?" And we're like, "Let's rephrase it to, is there any room in the team's budget or in the company's budget? You switch it from me versus you into it's
Mhm.
us versus maybe the compensation team or the budget. The budget could be the third person in the room." Awesome. Alex,
I
yeah.
was just smiling because, like, if we ridiculously expand that, it's like, are we able to increase our budget to pay me more? Like, you're just like bringing, all of us into the team to pay me. No, anyway, don't do that. That's not a real
Mhm.
tip. I was just kind of, exaggerating there a bit.
But
So let's say you're prospecting a lead and you have some conversations with them and you're trying to find what they need. Like,
mhm.
if you feel like that they're not that interested or if they need a bit more convincing, what's your approach? Do you try to give reasons why it makes sense, how you can solve their problem, or do you just let it cool off a bit? I'm just kind of curious how you think about that from a sales perspective.
I think this comes back to gardening versus hunting,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes back to aligning. If my goal is to close the deal, then I'm going to close deals where either the customer doesn't actually feel the pain, actually, or actually want what I'm providing,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to close deals where like they're not ready for me. And then that's going to lead to unhappy customers, people who feel like they didn't get their money's worth, like maybe harder times getting the resources I need to actually get unblocked. So that's a big thing is like I'm vetting you as well as you vetting me.
Yeah.
If I think that this is going to be a horrible engagement, if I think that this is going to be really painful, I'm going to have to fight against all sorts of weird security models. I have to price that in, and I
Mm-hmm.
like it's so critical to make sure that that your champion is truly your champion. Yeah, I would say that in situations where people are unsure, my general assumption is I haven't hit the actual pain point yet.
Mm.
Yeah.
Also, Garrett, to what you said earlier, I do want to make a point, which is, you know, in terms of what you have in common versus what you have apart, the salary negotiation for a W-2 is a perfect example. You and the hiring manager both want you to take this job.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I've been on that side. Interviewing sucks. I don't
Yeah.
want to interview more candidates. If I find a candidate I like I'm super bummed if the negotiation doesn't work out and now I have to book out 5 more hours of next week to
Exactly.
talk to a bunch of people.
Yeah, and you and the rest of the team and leadership, and it's such a wasted time and not
Hmm.
fun. I want to come back to my second question from earlier. Can you walk us through a specific either power dynamic or negotiation?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most notable one was back at Astronomer was the push the discussion around Airflow 2.0, which was really interesting where this was early on in Astronomer's history. And essentially, we had a wonderful, wonderful, but very sales focused CEO.
Sorry,
And
for the
sale,
audience, what is airflow again?
so Apache Airflow is an open source project that is used for basically it's kind of the conductor of the orchestra, where all the instruments are your snowflakes and your Databricks and your pandas, all of these other tools are processing the data, and Airflow sits on top, making sure that everything works in the correct order. And that
Hmm,
if something goes wrong, you get alerted and like all the kind of meta around it.
got it. Okay.
And so, this was early on. We had this incredible CEO who was at his heart a sales guy, which is there's sales CEOs and there's product CEOs, and there's pros and cons to both. And with a sales CEO, if everything's moving up and to the right, then a sales CEO is happy. Sales CEO is
Hmm.
closing sales, his AEs are happy, he's having a good time. But what I started noticing was that there was this meme forming because the Airflow project was actually not in a great state. Like the main branch was like 4,000 commits behind, like ahead of the release branch. So every single release, we had to take individual commits, convert them to Python 2, hand by hand cherry pick them. It was like a nightmare of a process. And
What
every
does this
time we,
mean for non-engineers? So
Basically,
things are very complex
under
and
the hood, it was going about things in a very inefficient way, and so it was more costly.
so imagine your house is really, really messy
Hmm.
and you want to find your glasses. You have to go through the entire house, find the glasses, like pick them up, take them out, and it's gonna like what could have taken like 5 minutes if your house was in order takes like an hour or two.
Hmm.
But like
have you
that is
and
for
Alex talked about this before?
I tend to be like almost OCD,
He's the
like
neat one
tidy.
here.
Yeah.
but but yeah, essentially like every single change we wanted to fix, we had to do just gnarly amounts of changes.
Okay.
And it was long story short, it was in this place where it hadn't been well maintained, and now we needed to do some very big things to fix it.
Hmm.
But sales were going well. And so suddenly we're in the situation where we're losing our best engineers for like a week every time we do like a new version of the product.
Hmm.
And they're not developing the product, they're just doing a release. And so I ended up actually having to go to the CEO, and this kind of ties back to like tie into understanding people's pain. He's not feeling the pain of the sales, but what he can feel the pain of is the existential question of what's going to happen in a year or two.
Mm.
And so I actually took a lot of Reddit posts and a lot of Hacker News posts of people talking about Airflow being a dying project. And I compiled them together and I showed him that the meme was starting. And like memes are easy to squash in the beginning, but once a meme has set, it's impossible to squash. You
Mm.
know,
It's
once people
forever.
believe that like, yeah, once people believe that like Mongo doesn't scale or Airflow's a dying project, it is pretty much impossible to convince people otherwise. And then that is like the small amount of rot that like can expand out to a hole your competitors can go through.
Wow, that
And
is
so
so
that was
interesting. It's like it seeps into the subconscious of the zeitgeist, and then people are like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't work," even if it works. And then you have to do reverse PR efforts and all that. That's so interesting. So there's so much
exactly.
psychology in there. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And so that was a really scary negotiation to like call up your CEO and yell that the sky is falling for an hour.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And
How did
so,
he take it? How did that conversation
Now
go?
you're fired.
I mean, he took it incredibly well. Like it was like he looked very concerned
Hmm.
and he asked me to email him the documents. And then a week later, we all meet up and we say, all right, we have to do Airflow 2.0. And what was
Yeah.
especially funny was one of our competitors wrote an article called Why Not Airflow? And we actually took that article piece by piece and we converted it into the Airflow 2.0
Wow.
Whoa.
roadmap.
Beautiful.
That's cool.
So it was like, that was a really high stakes negotiation because it's like, I was just an engineer reaching out to the CEO of my company who could fire me
Yeah.
and basically saying like we have to take a significant change as a company.
Mm.
At face value, this seems like you wanted what's best for the company. Could the CEO have thought there was something else in it for you? Like that he was because if yeah.
You know, it's hard to say. I don't think in that scenario there was a specific thing for me, except for the fact that like as an engineer, I was dealing with the pain of doing those releases.
Right.
So it could have come off as like I'm just an engineer complaining because things
Mm,
aren't working.
right.
Like, you know, engineering's hard. Like it could have come off that way. And so I think that was a really important thing where the times in my life where I've had the best internal negotiations have been the times I've come with either proof or a working demo.
Mm.
Like as an engineer, you have a superpower, which is that you can build.
Yeah.
And so if you can build something that proves that what you're proposing is better, if two people propose ideas and one person has a demo or one person has like
Right.
the receipts, that
Yeah.
person is going to win.
Yeah, the receipts. I love that. You had the receipts. I love that. I think it sounds like it went well because you wanted what's best for the company. It was evident, and you had the receipts like, hey, everyone's talking about this. And then there was the competitors' paper. Yeah, this sounds like an excellent negotiation. Did you get a raise or anything? More equity refreshers?
I actually did get an equity refresh afterwards.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh,
That's great.
nice.
Did
Yeah.
they proactively offer it or did you ask for it or how did it
It was
unfold?
it was completely proactive.
Wow.
Okay, nice. I mean, why not? Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's this
Complete.
kind
I
of
love
comes
that.
back to
I
like
love the honesty of it. It was completely proactive.
I
There
mean,
was zero effort on their part.
yeah. What and this kind of comes back to but this kind of comes back to like me leaving for my own thing, which is like I wanted to be in charge of how much money I make. I
Yeah.
want to be in charge of how much I work. I want to be in charge of like all these things that otherwise as an employee are completely out of your control. Like,
Yes.
there was there have been so many stories about like engineers at Intel that made like industry shaking changes and they got a $10,000 bonus.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
That almost feels like a slap in the face.
yeah.
You know?
But I can also see the company because I'm like, why would a company do that? But I can also see a world in which they're like, if we give this person, I don't know, $10 million, they'll just retire.
Retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to keep them a little hungry, stay
Yeah.
foolish.
I'm curious what happened with those rockstar AI engineers that Meta hired and gave them like superstar athlete comp packages, like $100 million bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they probably had built into them like
Of
schedules
course.
and cliffs
And
that will keep them
milestones.
around.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've noticed in this environment, we have a lot of clients who now their comp packages include milestones. I'm seeing this more than
Wow.
before. Yeah, I don't like it because not only are the milestones, of course, sort of harder to achieve. It's not as easy as time-based, of course. But sometimes there's other factors. One is like, what if your manager leaves halfway through and now you have to convince a new manager? So when I was at LinkedIn, I was there for 2 years. I had 4 managers in the span of 2 years, which is on average a new manager every 6 months. There's so much lack of continuity. Now I have to convince a new person every 6 months, like, look what I've done. And like, you weren't
Mhm.
there, but I swear I did this and that. And then the third reason is even if it is the same manager or whatever, like you have to, sometimes a lot of these milestones are like, he said, she said.
It's a bit subjective. Right?
Subjective, and there might be, oh, you didn't meet quite the 99% but not 100%. I don't like milestone based incentives, to be honest, but they do seem very shiny. I have recent clients who they were offered like, I don't know, $1 to $3 million based on milestones, and it sounds so shiny, like, wow, this is an amazing comp, but will you hit that? Who knows?
It's funny for me, like milestone base is actually a lot of what I have to do, you know?
Mm,
And so this comes back to aligning yourself with your client.
yeah,
But then the tricky part there is if you're going to do milestone based, you need to put in whatever stipulations you need
that's it.
to actually make sure that the client is aligned with you reaching those milestones.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like a really critical question, like if you're a consultant and you're doing this is what development environment am I going to get? You know,
Mm,
if I'm not given access to your actual data systems, if I'm not even given access to like a machine and I have to do it all remotely, those are things that have to be factored in because that is me taking on risk.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so like if you're doing anything milestone based, I think you need to just ask yourself like, how can I make sure that the company is as aligned as possible towards me reaching these milestones?
Yes,
Yeah, like
exactly.
you set the conditions for your success in
Yeah.
in achieving that. Like, because if you don't define it, the company would be like, "Yeah, you use this pencil, paper, and this rock." You know, I don't know. I mean,
Alex's analogies are so adorable.
yeah, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I going back to a point that you made, it's like working for yourself versus for someone else. For us, we're very creative, and in many previous jobs, I've just wanted to try different things, and like you can because you have to do all the other priorities that the team cares about. So I love that in this business, we are very creative. We still can't try a lot of the things that we wanted to try. So the irony is like you still can't be fully creative, but at least you understand why you cannot do it.
I mean, you can be as creative as you want, but you just have to deal with the consequences if that
Yes,
creativity
and the
fails.
trade-offs for sure. But now I have to convince myself. And Alex, awesome. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
For those who are thinking, who are listening, who are
Or
thinking about
watching and thinking.
watching and thinking about becoming a consultant or starting their own company, being a freelancer, what's the biggest piece of advice you'd have for them?
Hmm. There's a few pieces of advice I have. Number one is I would say 12 to 18 months. Like whether you're starting a startup or a consulting business or anything, if you can have 12 to 18 months of runway, either by saving up a lot or moving somewhere
We're
cheaper,
moving to Mexico City. Yeah.
it certainly helps. I'm not gonna lie. Like if if you can have that 12 to 18 months, the the amount of risk tolerance you can have is so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it might work out in a month. It might be that it takes you a year to make your first dollar.
Mm-hmm.
You have to decide how long are you willing to take that risk before you decide the risk is too much? Because the last thing you want to do is to quit your job, take the risk, and then 3 weeks later be like, wait, this is hard and like I'm scared and like maybe I should just go find another job because then you just quit for nothing.
Right.
So the other thing I would say is running a business is a skill, and skills are things you can get better at. Things
I
that
love that.
things that seem like innate personality traits, like confidence or keeping your cool under pressure or negotiation, all of these are things that you learn. However, pain is the thing that turns knowledge into wisdom. So you can
Wow.
learn something, but it's gonna suck for it to before it settles in.
Mm.
Do you think that only pain is what turns knowledge into wisdom? Going a little philosophical.
I mean, ayahuasca helps.
It'll
So
help you get
funny.
there faster.
Thank you for that. And if people want to work with you, I know you're very busy with,
Yeah, how can they find out about
yeah.
you? Do you have a website or
And
Yeah,
contact
absolutely.
information?
do you want to say
Absolutely.
again a summary of like who would be the ideal type of client, the type of work you can help them with, and then how to reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a very interesting range, which is there's three main things I offer. The first is I offer basically like end-to-end data consulting. So I can come in, fix your data systems, set up all your AI, set up everything to kind of modernize your stack to better use these AI tools. So I am a hands-on engineer. I also do enablement where I can sit with your engineering team or your sales team or your marketing team and build out both tools and basically enablement sessions to make them get the most of AI. And then the third thing I offer is fractional CTO work. So if you have a company that is in need of a turnaround and you need someone to come in, clean up, get a working product, I've definitely had some pretty great success there in terms of bringing companies to market that were at pretty high risk to not get to market. And my website is imberman.ai. So feel free to reach
Imberman.ai.
out to me there. And my email is Daniel.
IMB. Yeah, can you spell that?
Sure, it's I like Mary, B like boy, ERMAN.ai. And my email is Daniel@imberman.ai. So you
Nice.
can email me, you can go to my website, and no worries about, don't worry about any like hard pitch. I'm glad to just hear what you're working on, and we could even just shoot the shit for a while.
Nice.
Nice,
Love
nice.
that.
I like that you want to learn about what they're working on and get an understanding of their needs.
Right.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the time to chat with us and sharing such cool stories. I know we wanted to do this in person, but didn't get a chance.
As-
Did you help me figure out whether I'm going to Poland?
Yeah, where do we land there?
I see you next time, but I'm like, where? SF, Mexico City, Poland.
I mean, you're gonna have 150 of your favorite people in a castle for a week.
Oh, wow,
Like,
That's a pretty good
that
pitch.
was a really
And
good
Gerta
pitch.
went to the Sandbox retreat in Spain
In
last
Spain,
year,
and
and you
had a
had
wonderful
an
time.
incredible
Yes,
time.
yes.
So,
Okay, wow.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, Daniel, muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
con gusto, mi amigo.
This is super fun. We're looking forward to this episode going out. We'll include links for your website and also your LinkedIn. We can throw that in there as well into the
Yeah,
show
of
notes.
course.
And folks can reach out if they want to connect with Daniel. But appreciate you coming on, and we will see you next time, whether in Poland or in San Francisco. We'll see.
Sounds good. Thank you
Or
so much.
Mexico City.
This was super fun.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
awesome.
All
All
right.
right, thanks.
Bye, guys.